Hey Branton Golf Club, it's Friday and you know what that means. It's fish and chips day. Today we're going to make homemade french fries and some beautiful fish and chips. And we're going to start with the french fries first. So I like to use russet potatoes. I think they're really good. I've already washed these. Simply cut strips down like this. Once again, don't forget to put a piece of paper underneath your cutting board. Okay, so I like my fries a little bit thick. I'm going to add those to water. Now you'll notice that sometimes the potato has a little dark spot on it. Just cut that off. We're going to blanch these potatoes in some water first and salt so they're just nice and tender. Then we're going to let them cool down. And once they're cooled down, we'll be able to fry them off. All right, so my potatoes are cut. My water is cold. You always want to cook your potatoes in cold water. I'm going to add some salt to this. And like I said before, when you're cooking potatoes, rice, you want ample amount of salt in the water. Now I'm going to take this, put it on the stove, bring it to a boil, turn it down to a simmer. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes. So while our potatoes are cooking, let's portion our fish. I have a beautiful piece of cod loin. Really wonderful, nice and fresh. And I'm going to cut some pieces. Now, I don't like at home having big pieces, so I'm going to cut nice 2.5 ounce, 3 ounce portions. Not too thick, so they don't take a long time to fry. And when it comes to seasoning the fish, we're just going to use a little bit of salt on it. The batter, when we make our batter, we're going to make a beer batter today. And in our batter, we'll put more of our flavors that we're going to use in there. So, just a little bit of Himalayan salt. And that's ready to go. I'm going to put that in the fridge, and when we make our batter, it'll be ready to go for us. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes, and my potatoes came to a boil. I turned it to a simmer. I'm going to pull one out and show you what we're looking for. You want to be able to snap it quickly like that. Now, you don't want to cool these down. You don't want to wash the natural starch off the potato. So what we're going to do is put them onto some towel to dry up the liquid, because water and oil aren't friends. And we're going to let these cool down. Usually when I do this, I do the potatoes in the afternoon, and they're nice and cooled by the time I'm ready to cook the fish. All right, it's time to make our delicious beer batter. So we need 1 egg, cold beer, very important. Beer needs to be cold. I'm going to put about 3/4 of this can. Doesn't need about 8 ounces. That's good. I'm going to mix my egg and my beer together. Okay. Now we're going to take 1 cup of flour. Add that to my liquid. Okay, so it's got a nice little thickness to it, but I'm going to add just a wee bit more flour. A little bit of salt. Okay. I'm using flour, so you got to be generous with the salt. I like a little cayenne pepper. Give it a little spice. A little bit of black pepper. Give that a good mix. Okay, so to test that my consistency is where I want it, I'll grab a spoon. So I dip the back of that spoon. And see how it's nicely coating? That's what I'm looking for. I don't want it to be running off and too liquidy, and I don't want it too thick either. That's pretty much bang on to the consistency I'm looking for. Now my oil's already turned on. I'm gonna take my fish out from the fridge, and we're gonna let this come to temperature. I wanna see some bubbles coming out of it, and I'm gonna let my fish come to a little bit more of a room temperature before I fry it. Okay, so my fish has been out for about 5 to 10 minutes just to get a little bit more room temperature. I like to dust it with a little bit of flour before I put it in the batter. This helps the batter stick to the fish. Okay, so that should be more than enough flour. As you can see, little bubbles are starting to come up from my beer batter, which indicates that it's perfect, ready to go. Okay, so I add some fish pieces. Now in my pan, I already have grapeseed oil, and I've probably about about just a quarter inch, a little bit more of oil, because I want it to at least cover half the fish as it's cooking. Now to test my oil, what I'll do is just take a little bit of batter, put it in there. Immediately it comes right up to the top. That tells me my oil is hot enough. Okay, I've got it almost on high heat, just underneath high heat. Doesn't have to be polar hot. Okay, now you get in there and get your fingers all dirty and full of goopy batter. Once again, that's the fun part about being a chef. Okay? Always put the fish in and then drop it away from you. Okay? Whenever you're frying anything, you want to put it in and then drop it away from you. You never want to drop towards you. This way, if oil splashes, it splashes to the back of the pan and not at you. So I'm going to do this in 2 batches. I'm going to cook half of it now and half on the second run. Okay, so once it's in the oil, just give your pan a little shake so it doesn't stick. All right, and we're going to let that cook. That's going to take about, I would say, 4 minutes on one side and then 4 minutes on the other side. In the meantime, I'm going to finish flouring off the other pieces of fish. Got 4 more pieces. They're going to go into my batter. So it's been about 4 minutes now. I'm just going to check on the color of it now. That looks pretty good, but I'm going to keep it just a wee bit longer, maybe another 30 seconds. Okay. I like to use a basket and another spatula or lifter as well at the same time, so I'm not creating too much of a mess when I'm flipping them over. So I'm going to start with this centerpiece. I'm going to guide it, flip it over. Color on it now is just nice and golden. You can see with the amount of oil that I had to start with, there's only 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch, but because I'm putting the fish in there, it raises the level of the oil. Okay? So it's almost covering the fish completely, but not. You know, we're not in a professional kitchen. We don't need to cook in that much oil. You get the same job done with the same amount of oil that I have in the pan right now. I'm going to let that cook for another 4 minutes, maybe 5, just a little tad longer, and those will be ready to come off, and I'll add my other 3 pieces in after. 5 minutes, the fish looks really nice. I'm going to take them out. And I like to have some paper towel down so the excess oil drains off. It smells delicious. See that nice golden color? Now I'm going to add the rest of my fish to it. I'm just taking off the last of the fish. Alright, now Get a little bit of salt. Whenever we fry something, nice salt over top of it. All right, so our fish is ready. Now I'm going to use the same oil. And I'm going to start adding my French fries to it. Now the amount of French fries really is determined by the amount of oil you have. They need to be submerged. So it looks like I'm going to do 2 batches of French fries. This will take about 10 minutes because we're cooking them at home. A little bit faster at work in the deep fryer that I have there. But you got to imagine that the cold French fries bring down the temperature of the oil. So that oil needs to get back to the right temperature to fry again. Okay, so our French fries are nice. I'm going to take those out. And once again, same idea as the fish. I have a cloth here to drain up the extra oil. I'll put my next round of French fries in. Be careful when you're dropping them in there. You don't want to splash yourself with oil. All right, once again, a little bit of salt. And your fries are good. All right, so there you go, fish and chips at the Martelli's house, and it's Friday night, so enjoy.